The ART Pro VLA is one of the only inexpensive hardware stereo tube compressors on the market that have earned the respect of both amateurs and professionals alike. In fact, I don't know of a single pro that would walk into a studio and turn their nose up at a VLA if they saw it. And ART have just come out with their Pro VLA III, which does have some new features, and we will get into that. But my questions are this. In the year 2026, when we have more inexpensive hardware options entering the marketplace, does the Pro VLA still live up to that original reputation, or was that just a honeymoon phase representative of a time where there were more limited options available? And if you have the Pro VLA II, would it make sense to upgrade to the Pro VLA III? Let's get into it. Full disclosure, this is not a sponsored review, by the way. ART has no idea that I'm even making this video, so if unsponsored reviews are important to you, then consider subscribing to my channel. If you like the video, of course. On the front of the panel, we have all of our variable controls in the form of stepped knobs, making recall much easier. Thank you, ART, for doing this. It is appreciated. And I did notice a few subtle differences on the controls as well. Namely, the ratio starts a little bit lower. Now it starts at 1.25 to 1, which is a subtle step down from the 2 to 1 from previous revisions, which also tells me that ART fully understands how people are using this compressor, which is as a bus compressor, giving you that glue, which is great. And you've got some of the fastest attack and release times available on an optical compressor, which really opens up this compressor's versatility. Like, think about it like this. How many times have you used an LA2A style compressor, which is an optical tube compressor, and you just can't use it on some sources because the attack may be just a little sluggish or the release just doesn't come back in time, which can result in compression artifacts or pumping? Like, the fastest attack time on the Pro VLA III is 0.22 milliseconds, which is just a hair away from an 1176, which really opens up this versatility. Like, you could even split this compressor from stereo into a dual mono compressor, and just as an example, for a vocal, you could use the left compressor as your fast compressor to catch the peaks, and the right compressor could be the slower LA2A style compressor. And right there, you've got that modern vocal cascading compression effect all together in one box. That's great. You've also got these really nice and bright VU meters, which I wish with all of my tiny heart that we could use those VU meters to monitor the gain reduction. But they don't have the option to do that. They have these little LED meters down below that will monitor the gain reduction for you, which is fine, I guess. But there is one new feature on this compressor which is super interesting to me, which is the voice switch on the front, which you can switch this compressor from tube to solid state. Interesting. All right, so let's listen to this in action. And I want to show you a few different scenarios where I think this compressor actually shines, and a few where I might personally look towards a different compressor, even a plugin. I know, but in all seriousness, though, there was one scenario where I was just straight up surprised the first time I heard a VLA, and that was on a full mix bus. So let's listen to that.
When it's good.
All right, shut up. Listen, shut up. That song that you just heard, there is a mixing competition for that song. So If you would like to join the mixing competition, go watch this video right here. That is a full session breakdown of all the gear that we use, the microphones, the outboard gear, the techniques, and the reasons why we did what we did. It's honestly a pretty fun video, and it's going to show you where to download the multi-tracks. The winner of the mixing competition is going to get a full license to iZotope's Ozone 12, which I think is awesome. So go watch that and join the mixing competition. All right, let's get back to it. And back when I used to have my Pro VLA 1 and 2, for that matter, I used it a lot on my drum bus. And similarly to how I would use an SSL bus compressor, very different compressors. But with that being said, I did always enjoy the results. And if you're wondering if you can do vocals through this compressor, the answer is emphatically yes, absolutely. If you are looking for a decently clean vocal compressor with just a touch of that additional harmonic richness, this does exactly that.
You expect me to stay a friend as you're twisting the knife over and over again. Starting over, we can't go back. Is it toxic, a love like that?
Now, I also want to show you where I think this compressor could fall a little bit short, at least to me, which is, if you know me, you know that I love driving into a compressor super hard. Like sometimes, like maybe I'm running it in parallel, or maybe I'm smashing a room mic, which we're going to do here in a second, but sometimes I do want to get that absolutely just distorted, like saturated kind of sound, that character out of the compressor. And the Pro VLA, even though it does have a tube, it doesn't do that necessarily. It's got some saturation, it's got some harmonic content, but it's just a little bit. It's just a whisper of that. It will not take you into that distorted territory. So let's listen to some drum room mics, and I'm going to compress it once through the Pro VLA, and I'm going to absolutely take it as far as I possibly can. And we're going to compare that to the sound of the UAD 176, which I've been enjoying for drum room mics lately, so you can hear for yourself the differences between the cleaner Pro VLA and a dirtier style compressor. And that applies everywhere. So if you are looking for a compressor that you really want to drive into to run parallel, or an affected vocal, or maybe you're looking to just rub a little dirt into your bass DI, like this may not be that compressor for you. In fact, if you drive too hard into this compressor, it sounds like this. You remember that switch that I was telling you about that could take it from tube to solid state? Well, let's listen to a few of the samples again, but we're going to go back and forth between tube and solid state so that you can hear the differences for yourself.
You expect me to stay a friend as you're twisting the knife over and over again. Starting over, we can't go back. Is it toxic, a love like that?
And look, if you're asking me, there wasn't a single circumstance where the solid state side sounded better than the tube side. Which makes sense. I mean, with my personal preferences and everything. On the solid state side, there are no transformers in this unit, so it's not like a FET circuit that's going to give you that classic solid state sound, right? It's really just cleaner. Like that tube switch is really just you deciding if you want the signal to run through a tube on the amplification part of that makeup gain. Like that's it. And something else to keep in mind as well is that the solid state side, when I was auditioning it, going back and forth, I noticed that the solid state was about 1 dB quieter than the tube choice. So I normalized everything in the video here, so it's all level matched. But if you get this unit for yourself, something to be aware of, since you are a human with human ears, is that louder will oftentimes sound better. And so it's just something to be aware of. That tube is just naturally about 1 dB louder. So are these compressors still worth it in 2026? And do they hold up that same reputation that they had built up over all those years? Listen, I think that these compressors represent what they always were, which is a better than you might expect hardware stereo optical tube compressor for the money. Gosh, that's a lot of words. But here's the deal. You're getting two independent optical compressors that are extremely versatile that can be linked together for stereo applications, which is incredibly useful. But my favorite part is that they are keeping the price point the exact same as the Pro VLA II, which is $599. And so if you are just dipping your toes into the world of analog compression, or if you are just looking for a solid, versatile stereo compressor for the money, I would have no problem recommending this to you. I think it sounds better than you might expect on stereo bus. I think it sounds great on drum bus. It sounds really good on individual instruments, vocals, bass DI, acoustic guitar, and although it may not have as much character as some of the other classic tube or optical compressors, I think that is also what gives it its versatility as well. Like, I think this would sound great on orchestral instruments. I think it excels at voiceover as well. In fact, I have used this exact compressor on this entire video's voiceover. It is low noise. It sounds great. And in fact, I had a chance to mix a podcast for a client of mine, and I was able to unlink the stereo function. So I had two identical optical compressors, and I used one for the host, one for the guest, and it just sounded fantastic. Now, if you are interested in this particular compressor, I will have links down below in the description. These are affiliate links. They cost you nothing to use. They give me the tiniest little kickback, but that is a great way to say thank you to this channel. So if you are considering it, just consider using those links. Now, as always, if you got something from this review, click the like down below, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions, personal tastes are. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, you absolutely should. There is so much cool stuff that's going to be coming up. So, all right, I will see you guys in the next one.